One of the biggest questions I get asked on a regular basis lately is whether general aviation flying is still legal or not. And while there may or may not be definitive answers depending on what state you live in, it's a good discussion to have, and more importantly, to talk about the ethical side of whether you should or should not be flying right now, given all the stay-at-home orders in different states. So in this video, we're going to tackle that subject head-on and start that discussion.
To say that we're going through one of the weirdest times in history is almost an understatement. I mean, things are very, very awkward right now, and there's a lot of confusion about what is and isn't acceptable. Specifically, I mean, even for me personally in general aviation. Yesterday, I took off, flew my airplane from Nashville to Bowling Green just to go do some practice approaches and get refamiliarized with some of my IFR training. I got a picture sent to me from my buddy right as state of Tennessee was putting out their stay-at-home order, where I was 500 feet off the runway on departure in Nashville. And what was funny about it is the comment he made was, you know, you were that close to not being able to fly for another month. So I put that out there and actually had some discussion last night where a lot of people took the interpretation of the order still allowed for general aviation flying. And to be honest, I don't know whether it does or not, but here's my interpretation of it. So the order for Tennessee, I can't speak for any other state, I'm only going off of what I know here, is that it allows for recreational activity to include riding in a vehicle, which to me could very easily be interpreted as flying a general aviation aircraft, provided that you can stay within the confines of social distancing, not convening large groups, limiting your contact with other people in public. So all of that's completely obtainable through general aviation, and I think that that's perfectly acceptable. The question I have though is it ethical? I mean, just because you can fly your airplane, should you? I don't know that it's the best idea, considering, so to be candid, I work in general aviation, obviously. My organization has started taking steps to prepare for this in a long-term status, where we've actually reduced hours for our employees, which reduces the availability of resource at the FBO. In addition, my concern is if there's ever going to be any flight restrictions or any reductions to air traffic control services, as we've already seen in a lot of locations. I mean, Midway was an uncontrolled airport. That's a big change. To me, I don't know that it's the best idea to be out flying general aviation aircraft in the short term as we're going through this, because the last thing I want to do is put another tick mark in the total operations for an airport for a day where they say, okay, we need to start limiting this to stop so much from happening, because we're only bringing more controllers, more people in to be a resource to support this that we just don't need. So that's kind of my take on it. Now, that's not to say that that's ironclad. I don't think I would go recommend to everybody go lock your airplane up and shut it down, winterize it, and don't plan on flying it again for another month. I think if you're at a small uncontrolled airport where you can get directly to your airplane, go fly on a pattern, you'd be fine. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, the majority of fly-in restaurants or any fly-in operations have all been closed and canceled for the foreseeable future, so I don't think that any of those situations present themselves the way that we would imagine. I don't see general aviation as a negative, but I think that the way we use that, we need to be cognizant of it. There has to be some common sense taken into the way that we approach it. That's kind of my take on it. I am curious to see where we go from here. This is such unprecedented times, you know. So many businesses are shut down right now. Obviously, National Flight Training suspended operations until we're through this pandemic to prevent being any kind of source for the potential of spread. And it's not a bad move. Me personally, I'm probably going to keep my airplane on the ground as much as practical, at least through the end of April. Because, like I said before, I just don't want to be any reason for there to be a need to restrict operations, especially at a controlled airport like BNA. Lebanon, John Tune, other airports around Middle Tennessee, I think you're fine. I don't see any issue there. Another thing to consider too is, I haven't seen anything confirmed yet, but restrictions on interstate travel. Yesterday I flew to Kentucky. I may have been completely violating the order, as far as I know. Now, I never stopped there. I did do a touch and go, but I never got out of the airplane. So I never actually stayed in the state long enough where there could have been some sort of restriction at that, as at a port of entry. But I think that that's something to be very cognizant of too, is if you do want to go fly on days like today where it's absolutely perfect for it, limit that to local flights. I just think that that's a safer way to go about this right now. And it's very difficult, you know, to say to pilots that we need to restrict ourselves. I think we need to use common sense. I think we just need to do the right thing for the time that we're in. So that was my only update I wanted to share here today. You know, as always, I appreciate everybody who watches these videos. Thanks for subscribing to this channel. I was really hoping to use this time to build a lot of new content over the spring as the weather started getting nice, and a lot of things are changing. It's a rapidly evolving situation. I wish I had more content to put out there. You know, I've been trying to do some of my old review videos just to kind of put things out there and have something to do. It's not easy, you know, obviously we're all trying to get through this, and now's a great opportunity for us to kind of sit back and learn before we actually go practice and apply in the airplane. So I went and flew some approaches yesterday. I filmed the whole thing, and I'm gonna put out a debrief out there and tear me apart. Tell me what I can do better. Help me be better at this. So again, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.